Hi, I'm Katie Wells, and this is my video abstract for Antipode. In this short video, I'm going to give you a peek into my paper about the U.S. urban speculation tax, a failed attempt to try to curb the profits from flipping in D.C. in the 1970s. D.C. in the 1970s was experiencing a new real estate paradox, one that was becoming familiar to many major cities in the U.S. There was a severe housing shortage for moderate and low-income families, at the same time that the city was beset with mass vacancies and abandonment. Housing prices skyrocketed, evictions rose, and tenants were kicked and priced out of their homes. A speculation wave was taking over the city, especially in the Adams Morgan and Capitol Hill neighborhood, where rental houses were bought, emptied, and converted to condos. A realtor whom I interviewed for this project said, "It was sort of like the Wild West back then. It was great. It was a lot of fun." A tenant revolt erupted, and D.C. became a place for some of the country's most radical legislation on housing. City residents, 3/4 of whom were black, won limited self-governance in the mid-1970s for the first time in 100 years, and elected a black majority city council full of civil rights activists who were concerned about what was happening with development and real estate. One of the 35 bills that first city council introduced was a tax on 70% of the profits of anyone selling more than one residential property within a year. It was one of the most radical bills the city council considered because it addressed the question of profitability in the housing market. But this speculation tax, when it was passed, only lasted 3 years, was only paid 7 times, and was declared by supporters and opponents alike a complete failure. The city employee responsible for it said, quote, "The whole thing is just a big joke." In this paper, I frame the struggle over the speculation tax and its slow failure as a property conflict. I show that property rights created steep and unexpected barriers to housing justice. I show how people who were concerned with the housing crisis confronted speculation head-on, but failed to publicly address fundamental problems about needed repairs and additions to the existing housing stock, and the question of economic mobility and tenure security for black residents. In the aftermath of the civil rights movement, property development offered the possibility of wealth and housing security for the city's black majority black population. As a result, a blurry line emerged in debates about good and bad kinds of property rights. I argue in this paper that that blurry line was critical to why the speculation tax was so short-lived. Ultimately, I argue that the demise of the speculation tax was a narrative crisis about property rights and the role of property ownership in racialized housing struggles. This paper shows the messy position of property ownership in racialized conflicts over urban infrastructure. This paper also offers practical insights about what's been happening in San Francisco. San Francisco residents are contending with the defeat of a speculation tax proposal on the ballot, and residents in Quito are considering a speculation tax too, and reportedly consulting with David Harvey about the possibility. The profits made through capitalist property markets, which are the subject of this paper, remain at the forefront of conversations about how to make urban life more just. This paper pushes that conversation, as well as our understandings about why socialist, leftist, and anti-neoliberal policies so often fizzle. I welcome your responses to this paper and look forward to hearing from you. Please feel free to contact me at kjw@vt.edu.